Welcome back to my channel. Now, after my last video about low budget issues, I received an email from someone that had a similar issue on the set, specifically dealing with the directors. Now, so I thought I'd address it here for all to see instead of just answering their question. I mean, I did answer their question in her email, but I wanted to address it in a public forum for all of you to see, because if you haven't dealt with the situation so far, then I promise you it will come up at some point in your career. I call it the too many cooks in the kitchen scenario. So let's dive in. Okay, so this video is going to go out to Nancy Ozo Imana 8577, and she writes, I'm on set presently where the director isn't taking any advice from me or even giving me a chance to share my thoughts. The AD also stands in the way of any form of conversation I'm trying to have with the director for when he's willing to listen. The AD walks up and pulls the director away. I don't know how to handle it, and it's the first time where the AD and I aren't collaborating. Also, the EP and the producer are part of the directing decisions on set. I find myself amid 3 directors and I wouldn't know whom to communicate with. I feel so frustrated almost every single day. Oh, Nancy. Again, I've been here as well many times, and basically what you're dealing with is a lot of egos, okay? You have a lot of people that just really want to, be giving their opinion, especially producers, when it's probably their first situation and they want to make sure it's done right, but they don't understand that the director has, has his own vision as well. So, well, yes, you have to, you need to tell the director when he's crossing the line, or, tell him about story points. The problem here is that there's too many cooks in the kitchen, all right? And the situation is you have to look at the big picture, all right? The director is being pulled in 5 different directions, all right? The AD, the executive producer, the producer, and most likely the DP, and then you put yourself in the mix, okay? The director has a lot of things going on and he's got a lot of people talking to him. So what you have to do is pick your battles, okay? Because most likely when he's going to blow up at you, because in this scenario, he sees you as the low man on the totem pole. So you have to pick your battles, and you have to learn to read the room, okay? Only advise them when it's absolutely necessary, because there's many times when I'll do this myself, and I used to do this a lot until I learned that I have to sit back and watch because because you have so many people interjecting and saying things and doing things, eventually somebody is going to pick up on that particular thing that you're thinking about telling the director. So for example, I'm sitting there and I see a Coke can on the table, and I'm thinking, okay, somebody's going to pick it up. I'm not going to say anything and I'm watching it, and then eventually the props person goes over there and takes it out of the set. So now I don't have to say anything. So you have to sit and watch, and again, see if anybody picks up on it first before you interject, because then it's one more voice in there when, it's happened many times when I've turned to the director and I've said something about something. He says, yeah, I know, I know already, they've already told me. So you got to eavesdrop. You've got to listen to what's going on and pay attention to what other people are saying, because if they've already said it, there's no reason for you to say it, okay? So in this situation, you got to do the best you can, all right? I know it's hard to sit back and not interject, but just try your best to let the director know if there's a real problem, okay? So if he takes your advice, great. And if he doesn't, then make a note and then just, move on. When they get in the editing room, they will soon see that when you're telling them that there's an issue on the set and it turns up a problem in the editing room, believe me, they're going to be looking at you a little differently the next time they come on the set. This has happened to me on many occasions. And there's one situation that I remember, oh God, so vividly. it was a situation where there was a car crash and there's a burning car, and the actor goes over there and he pulls the woman out of the car, and then, you know, we shot that wide shot of him pulling him out of the car, coming in left to right, or yeah, left to right. And then, you know, the next shot is him, the person on the ground, you know, being taken care of. Well, I told the DP, I said, you've got to lay the person into the shot. And they said, oh, no, critical focus, critical focus. And I said, well, don't mess with the focus. Focus him on the ground where he's at. But then when you start the shot, just let him lay into the shot so he lays into his focus. Because the DP, again, he was green. He didn't know how to deal with this, because, you know, you got to have, you know, okay, focus them, and now, you know, you act. So I had to tell him, focus on him where he's laying, and then just let them lay him in the shot, because it's going to be the continuity of him being pulled from the fire, and then all of a sudden you see him being laid into the shot. That means that there's continuity involved, as opposed to you see him being pulled out, and then all of a sudden you cut to a shot of him just on the ground. You got to give them that, you know, motion. So as I'm trying to explain to the DP what needs to be done, the director comes up, and very green director was his very first shot, or very first movie, I should say. He says, well, what's going on here? And I said, well, I'm trying to explain to the DP that he needs to lay him into the shot because, you know, and I explained to him why. And the director really didn't know what I was talking about. He was just like, well, and then he basically diverted to the DP. And he said, okay, well, you know, just do it, you know, so they did it that way. They just did it where the guy was just on the ground. They shot it. Okay, fine. I made a note in my notes, and then I forgot about it. Okay, fine. 2 days later, you know, we go on the set again, and we, you know, we're working, and all of a sudden the director comes up and he says, you know, I was in the editing room and I was talking to the editor, and he told me that, remember that shot where, you know, we pulled him out, they were telling me that I needed to lay, and as he's saying, lay him into the shot, my hands are going up to his neck. He goes, oh, did you tell me that? I said, yes, that's what I was trying to explain to you, is that he needs to be laid into the shot. He said, oh, I didn't understand what you were saying. From that point on, I just raised an eyebrow, and he turned to me and said, what's wrong? What? I said, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. So unfortunately, you have to prove yourself at some point in a production like that. So, and you're not going to do it by, hammering them over the head with a hammer. You just have to show them. So basically, tell them what needs to be done. If they don't follow your direction, make a note, say, okay, fine. Don't say anything. And then when they come back later and say, oh, well, you know, we should have done, I said, look at my notes. It's in there. I mentioned it. Oh, you did? Yes, I did. So again, it's going to take a little while for them to, especially depending on what kind of production you're working on. If you're working on a TV show or if you're working on a feature, you know, you're going to have to prove yourself at some point. And when you first come on the set, you have to understand the directors worked with a lot of different script supervisors, and many of them, you know, some good, some bad. But some basically would just sit back and, you know, just note take and not say anything. Part of your job is to give continuity issues, give them shot, suggestions to get out of a situation. So, so in that situation, you know, you have to remember that eventually, you know, they're gonna listen to you, because the advice that you're giving them is important, and you only mention it when you need to mention it. You're not going to give them frivolous advice just to be heard, because you need to show them, prove to them that you're a great script supervisor. This is one thing I remember I used to do when I first started script supervising. I always felt like, oh God, I have to prove myself that I'm a great script supervisor. Well, as time goes on, you're going to realize that, you know what, they'll know you're a good script supervisor when you tell them something and it's good advice. And you don't say something when it's just frivolous advice, okay? Because they don't want to have a lot of a lot of chatter going on around you, especially, and that's another thing, when you're around the video village, don't talk a lot. Okay, talk when you have to be talking, because the director, even though he may not be saying anything at that point, he's thinking about the next shot. He's thinking about that shot. He's thinking about next week's shot. He's thinking about last week's shot. Okay, so he's got a lot of stuff going on, and so you may think that, oh, he's not saying anything, so it's a good time for me to talk to him about, you know, what you had for dinner last night. Don't. Okay, unless he approaches you and he says something, or she approaches you and you're talking about, you know, something. I'm not saying to be totally, you know, blank about it, but choose your words. All right, it's very important on the set. So that's my advice for today, and keep those questions coming, because it's going to help somebody else on the set when I get these questions, because I'll do a video on it, and that way, you know, it'll help somebody else. All right. So that's all I have today. So we'll see you on the next one. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like it. See ya.